of an American or a Saudi military strike on Iran now.
An all-out war.
All right, that was Iran's Foreign Minister Javad Zarif, who had an interview with CNN to discuss the escalating tensions between the United States and Iran. Now, recently, the United States has accused Iran of bombing an oil facility in Saudi Arabia. Iran denies it. The Houthi rebels in Yemen claim responsibility for it, but both the Saudis and the US claim that the Houthi rebels absolutely did not have the capability to conduct that type of attack. Now I want to show you more video from the interview that took place with Zarif, and then I'll fill in some blanks. Take a look.
Of an American or a Saudi military strike on Iran now.
An all-out war.
You make a very serious statement there, sir.
Well, I make a very serious statement about defending our country. I'm making a very serious statement that we don't want war. We don't want to engage in a military confrontation. We believe that a military confrontation based on deception is awful, will have a lot of casualties, but we won't blink to defend our territory.
So he's being very clear. He's saying, look, we don't want any type of military action. We don't want any type of war. But if we need to defend ourselves, that is what we're gonna do. He was also clear in stating that Iran is open to having talks with Saudi Arabia and the UAE. However, they are not willing to have a conversation with anyone from the United States because of their pressure campaign through sanctions. They say, look, if you are willing to raise the sanctions against Iran, then we're willing to talk to the US. But if not, we have no interest in that.
Yeah, so first point is that I think he's wrong on the conditions for talking. There should be no preconditions. I get it. We violated the deal. We tore up the deal, and we shouldn't have done the sanctions again. That's not just Iran's position. That's also the position of all the European countries that were involved in the deal: Russia, China, everyone else in the world except Donald Trump administration. Okay, so even though he's right about that, still you should always go to the negotiation table. And so him saying we won't go until you lift the sanctions, well, that's not going to happen. So that's not good for peace. Number two, is his point about all-out war problematic? No. What do you think would happen? I mean, so we're saying we might bomb Iran, and we always say that about other countries as if they're not human beings and they don't have sovereignty, and who cares, we do whatever we want. Just always think about shoe on the other foot. So if Iran was threatening to bomb New Jersey, they're like, I don't know, maybe we'll take out Newark or Poughkeepsie, New York, or I don't know, maybe we'll destroy Hawaii, just Tora, and we'll just bomb the hell out of Hawaii. Now what would happen? It would be a day that lived in infamy, right? And we would immediately launch a massive war. So he's saying, yeah, if you bomb us and attack our country, of course it's gonna be all out war. So I don't find that troubling. I find him not going to the negotiation table more troubling.
Yeah, look, okay, so I wanna discuss that in just a second. But let's never forget that the reason why we're engaged in this conflict with Iran at this very moment is because Donald Trump pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal. So, first of all, I have to admit, watching that video, yes, the subject matter is terrifying. The notion of going to another war in the Middle East is also terrifying. But he's so calm in the way that he speaks about this issue. I'm just like, tell me more. Tell me what else is gonna happen, right?
Yeah, he's weirdly calm.
He's so calm. And look, I only bring that up to juxtapose the way that he talks about this very serious issue with how Donald Trump handles this issue, right? Now, Donald Trump, again, seems to have the right instinct in not invading Iran and not going through with any type of military action. But at the same time, his action in pulling out of the Iran nuclear deal, his rhetoric, all of that has led to an escalation with Iran that didn't need to happen. And then now let's talk about his Zarif's refusal to meet with Trump or with anyone in his administration. Well, those US sanctions against Iran are serious. So according to CNN, the sanctions have crippled Iran's economy, obviously, causing the currency to plummet and prices to soar. The economy has contracted and food and medical shortages are rampant. So the innocent civilians, citizens of Iran, they're the ones who are really suffering. And what good is gonna come out of having a discussion with someone as unreasonable as Donald Trump? So I think of that, but at the same time, I also know that if you do meet with Donald Trump and you compliment him and you just pander to him, then he might do anything you want him to do.
Yeah, he might talk about how you guys fell in love. So, but let's not lose sight of the single most important thing about this story. Does anyone in the country want to fight Saudi Arabia's wars for it?
No.
I don't think there's anyone on the left wing. I don't think there's anyone on the right wing who wants to fight Saudi Arabia's wars on their behalf and have our soldiers, our young men and women go die on behalf of Saudi Arabia. Nobody in the right wing thinks that, or left wing, or in the middle. The only people who think that are 13 neocons in the military industrial complex. But yet, when you turn on your television, what do you see? The war drums are out, and oh my God, oh well, we gotta respond. Well, of course we have to fight on behalf of Saudi Arabia. They don't say on behalf of Saudi Arabia, but they're having a 50-50 conversation. I don't even think it's 50-50. If you turn on an average cable news channel, it is at any given time, I think that it is more than 50% that they intimate is, that this is a possibility. And they make it seem like the country our country is really mad and they want a strong response on behalf of Saudi Arabia. That's just horribly misleading. There isn't anybody in the country that wants this war.
Well, you're obviously talking about voters and some lawmakers, but as you mentioned, there are neocons who absolutely love war. John Bolton's one of them. Luckily, he's no longer Trump's national security advisor. However, Mike Pompeo is still part of Trump's administration as Secretary of State, and he just met with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, a murderer, someone who ordered the murder of Jamal Khashoggi. And so he meets with him and then he puts out this type of language on Twitter. Met with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman today to discuss the unprecedented attacks against Saudi Arabia's oil infrastructure. The US stands with Saudi Arabia and supports its right to defend itself. The Iranian regime's threatening behavior will not be tolerated.
Okay, good, let them not tolerate it. Okay, they have a right to defend themselves. Of course they do. So let them defend themselves. Why are we sending American boys and girls to go die on behalf of this murderer, Mohammed bin Bonesaw, right? So no, our answer resoundingly all across the country is no, except for guys like Pompeo who work on behalf of the military-industrial complex. There's almost no neocons. No real person has ever run into a neoconservative in their lifetimes. You've never seen one at a picnic. You've never seen one at a barbecue. The only neoconservatives that exist are all on cable television. And so they beat the war drums for, oh my God, we gotta go. We gotta go. The Saudis called. We have to fight the war. No, we don't. Nobody wants this war. And by the way, look, you want to talk about disaster? If Trump gets goaded into it, which is still enormously possible, what if things start going wrong? And then Trump, he has no control. What if he says, oh, we had trouble, let's nuke them? You think he won't do that? So we have a very small group of people in this country that are trying to drive the world into an absolute disaster. It's incumbent upon so-called reporters to call out that they're a minuscule portion of this country. Do a poll, for God's sake. Nobody wants this war, except John Bolton and Mike Pompeo, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, and Boeing. On the go? Don't worry, we got you covered. You can still listen to TYT at our new podcast network. Find us on Apple Podcasts, the Google Play Store, or at tyt.com/podcast.